Hey, what's up guys? Going to do another knife review today. And today we're talking about the Maxpedition Ferox. Alright, Ferox I believe is how it's pronounced. It is Latin, means fierce. Here's how it's spelled, F-E-R-O-X. Like the box, very old-timey. If you're someone who collects knives and you always keep the box and stuff, which lately I've been doing trades and things, people have been like, you have the box? I remember being that guy and just like dwelling like, oh, I love to trade with you, but oh, you don't have the box. Sorry about that. These days, I really can care less about the box. I'm interested in the knives because I want to use them. I'm not collecting them. Particularly these. These are not collectible knives by any means. They're user knives. As you can see, I have the whole array of them. These knives are offered in two different blade orientations, I guess you could say, plain edge and a combo, which is an interesting serration pattern, which we'll talk about. And it's offered in three different colors. Now the two black ones are the ones that I tested, okay? The khaki versions and the OD green versions were not tested. These are brand new because these are going into my different bags and packs, all right? Because I think these are good beater knives. All right, and what I mean by beater knife, I mean it's a knife that I don't really have to worry about that much, but still have some confidence in. So anyway, I just wanted to show you the colorations here. You can see that they're all coated blades. There's a black coating, which offhand I do not know what it is. I can tell you from testing, it's held up pretty good under some heavy testing. So anyway, here's the color variations on the handles, which are FRN. Alright, just like a lot of their gear, they offer a little variety in color, which is nice because if you're one of those weirdos who has to match everything, some people are like into khaki and all their gear has to be khaki, every piece. And if you get one piece that's OD green, it's like weird. Personally, I really don't care. Given the option, of course, if you have color options, sure, I'll get something that matches. I'm like everyone else. But generally speaking, it is what it is. It's not a huge deal. So, just wanted to show you those as different options, but like I said, these were not used. The colors are not going to affect their performance, okay? Using both the plain edge version, which I used more than the serrated version, but I still use both versions so I can give you a good, honest review from experience. And there are some things to be said that you will only know from using these knives. That's the point of these videos. So, anyway, let's start off by talking about price. All right, these retail, I believe, $29.99 through Maxpedition. There are other sources you can get them from. Dealers are starting to carry these, and you'll see these range anywhere from $23 to $27. So for all intent purposes, I will call this a $25 knife. Now, when you first get this knife and start using it, you're reminded that it's a $25 knife, both in a good sense and a bad sense. There are some things I don't like about the knife. There are some problems. However, for $25, it's not a bad knife. And I think it definitely can compete with a lot of the options out there for $25. Maybe not every option, but as far as comfort and usability of the knife, I think it's worth $25. It's just, unfortunately, a lot of you guys out there, particularly knife guys, you're past a $25 knife. And this may be disappointing to you. For everyone else, it's a fantastic option. But it's definitely a user knife. I think I should probably start off by saying some things I don't like about it. Well, first off, let me give you some specs. That's where people love their specs. I'll tell someone a number, and then they'll get the knife and be like, oh, that's a lot smaller than I thought. Sometimes the numbers really don't matter. And even myself included, if I see a video or something, or if I'm on a website and I'm about to order something, and I see, okay, well, it's 7.5 inches long and open, and I get like an idea, but when I get it in my hand, it is what it is. So sometimes, even though you have the numbers, you can literally look at a ruler. In person, it's just surprising whether it's too big or too small or whatever. But anyway, here are the specs for people who like them. 7.75 inches in the open position, or overall length. Closed, we're looking at 4.5 inches, and the blade is a 3.25 inch blade. All right. Now this blade steel is a 5CR13. All right, a lot of you guys are more familiar with, say, an 8CR13, 8CR14, MOV, something of that nature. I know blade steels get very confusing, and I do promise I will do a series in the future. I'm procrastinating because it's a lot of information, and it will be a series of videos. But blade steels can be a tricky thing. these whole, like, you know, 5CR13, it's not random. It's not like some guy thought that would sound good. 5CR13 is referencing the composition of the blade. 5 being the percent on average of the carbon. All right, CR13 being about 13% chromium. Okay, so these number steels, you know, the long Sandvik steels and so forth, you know, these Chinese steels, they mean something. That's why they're called what they are, because it's an easy reference to what they're actually made out of. So again, 5CR13, about 5% carbon, 13% chromium in this particular type of blade steel. It is on the soft side. Okay, it is a price consideration. When you go for a cheaper or more affordable knife, you can't use the, you know, highest end steels. It's just how it is. As far as performance, I can tell you I was pleasantly surprised. I was actually a little bit shocked. Most of the cutting was a lot of cardboard. I had a bunch of boxes to cut up from packages I got. Plus I use priority boxes. Just a little tip for me to you, not to say go out and get a bunch of boxes you don't plan on using, but if you do like reviews and stuff, you know, you can't just EDC 50 knives every day, you know, to get experience with them. Plus, you know, every single day, your average EDC tasks, sometimes it's not much. Sometimes you're just cutting a string off your shirt or opening 2 boxes or whatever. You're not doing extensive testing. So to speed along that process, you may have to purposely cut stuff that you don't otherwise need to cut. So what I'll do is I'll get a bunch of postal priority boxes because they are free. You can have them shipped to your door for free as well. That provides me with cardboard to cut for testing. Wink, wink. So anyway, yes, extensive cardboard cutting with these knives. And I can say that the performance on the steel was surprising. Still comparable to about an 8CR13. I really thought that it wouldn't last as long as it did. It's not awesome by any means, and I would say probably after a consistent maybe 40 minutes of cutting, we were down to just bare dull crap, useless. But that goes for a lot of knives. And you know, once you start really using your knives, you're gonna find that some of your knives, even some of the better blade steels, they just don't last as long as you think they do. You know, if you carry a knife every single day in your pocket and occasionally you break it out, cut something, close it, it can seem very impressive to you. But when you get out and you literally just cut and cut and cut consistently and constantly for, you know, an hour, you're gonna find your knife dulls. It's not magic. It doesn't stay sharp forever. So although soft, although cheap, surprisingly good. I believe Rockwell's 56 to 59, somewhere in that range with this steel. So it's not gonna blow you away, but honestly, as far as cheap knives go, you know, it's really not that bad. I was actually a little impressed by it. I wanna talk about the serration pattern a little bit here. Let me get in close and show you this. You can see it's very unique. Maxpedition describes this as a field, I forget the exact words, I don't wanna quote something improperly, but I don't know, field manageable or maintainable serrations. All right, now basically, I come in real close, yep, you know it, the loop. We can see we have a spread out serration pattern that gives us some flats, okay, as opposed to coming up to a point. It's very unique. There's 2 things that I like about this, okay, and I do think this is a superior serration pattern as opposed to just the standard cheap Chinese, you know, whoop, 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 bunch of points. First of all, having flats as opposed to just points does enable you to sharpen this on a flat stone easily. Most of you guys out there do not like serrations, not because they don't perform well, but because you just can't sharpen them. And a lot of times, when you get a knife even brand new, they're not sharp enough for you, for your personal taste. So you just nix the whole idea. Serrations suck, they're horrible, I'll never get them. You know, it's because of your poor experience with them. There are certain knives from certain companies that have an awesome serration pattern. Off the top of my head, I can definitely say that the serration pattern on some of the CRKTs, which I'm gonna do a review in the future, the vest stuff, really nice, very capable, very easy to maintain. What else? Kershaw's scalloped, you know, serration pattern, probably one of my favorites. Very, very effective. But what you guys are used to usually are cheap knives, cheap serrations, you know, and it's just a consistent point, and the points, they snag on things, stuff like that. But anyway, what I like about this is the pattern does give you the capability of sharpening this on a flat stone. You can see how the bevel continues. It just basically skips where the curved portion of the serration is. All right, so all these flats, all the shiny part that you can see where the coating's taken off, that can all be resharpened very nicely. It's a V-ground blade, by the way, on a stone. What you can't easily sharpen are, you know, the radiuses in, you know, inside each serration. Not easily anyway. Okay, now we're back to a standard type serration pattern, which is hard to maintain, to be honest. But to having these flats, I believe that's what they're referring to when they say field manageable or maintainable or whatever. I like that. I can tell you that these perform very much like a saw as opposed to a serration. One drawback is that I found when I tried slicing through cardboard, it caught the material, it bound up and ripped as opposed to cut. All right, it was very ineffective in that sense. But using it like a saw was much more effective. That's kind of strange to me. Serrations I'm used to using at like a normal serration where I'm just slicing with it and it's a little bit more aggressive for fibrous material. But in this case, it's very aggressive as a saw. You literally have to do a sawing motion, but it works extremely well in that case. I'm kind of on the fence with that. I mean, this is a pattern you'll see on some spines, on, you know, survival knives and stuff like that, so you can use it like a saw. But I don't know, I'm torn. What I do like about it is that on a combo edge, you have a decent, you know, length of serration pattern. I've talked to this before. If you're going to go with serrations and effective serrations, that's fine, but you need a good run of them. On a combo knife where you have a 1/2 inch of serrations, that's not going to do anything for you. All right, you need to have somewhat of a length to work with. So I like that they have that extended length like that, okay? As opposed to, like, even if you get a fully serrated blade, it never is truly fully serrated. There's always at least like a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch of plain edge towards the tip. This is basically like that, but it gives you a little bit more plain edge to work with. I can tell you that as far as these two go, I didn't try those because they're still brand new. As far as these two that I tested, they were not razor sharp out of the box. Okay, they would not cleanly slice through paper easily. The plain edge and the plain edge portion of the combo edge blade were sharp enough to cut. You know, it wasn't dull by any means, but it's definitely not up to par on, say, you know, compared to a much more expensive knife. Some of the stuff that a lot of you guys are going to be used to on your production knives, you know, some of the Spydercos and Benchmades and, you know, even CRKT stuff and Kershaw stuff, you know, it's definitely sharper. So if you put it this way, if you're experienced with a lot of different knives from a lot of different companies, you're going to find that this one isn't quite as sharp out of the box. Might need some work. I did my testing without sharpening them. Initially, I wanted to test it just out of the box with a factory edge. I did find that I was having some difficulty cleanly slicing through paper. It would make the slice, but it would come out, you know, rough. You know what I'm talking about, where it's just not clean. You can feel it. When you're slicing through the paper, you can feel that, the resistance. So a very overly toothy edge, I think there could be more refining from the factory, but keep in mind that adds expense. When you're talking about a $25 knife, it's hard to compare it to, say, you know, an $80 knife that you think is a lot better. It's a lot better because it's $80. So it's really not comparable. As far as the design overall, it's ergonomic. You have a nice finger choil here. You know, the secondary kind of like extended curvature here is very comfortable in the hands. Originally, you know, closed, it kind of reminded me of the Benchmade Striker. I don't know why, I just got that feel with it. There is a flipper on the back here. I can tell you definitely need some wrist action, okay? Just trying to flip it with just your finger, even if you try to build up pressure by pushing forward before you push down, you just can't get it completely open. I've tried and I've tried. Doesn't take much, but you do need a little bit of wrist. Okay, a little bit of wrist in there. Not a big deal. Ambidextrous thumb studs on these knives, okay, and I actually prefer using the thumb stud. I can definitely get it out a lot easier. Now, when they're brand new, the detents are not very strong. All right, now how the detent works, if you don't know, is on the, use my loop here, on the inside of the liner, and these are liner locks. We'll talk more about that in a second. It'll be hard to see, I can't get a good angle here, but there's a little ball bearing. Can't really see it because it's all black in there. But on the inside is a little ball bearing, and there's a little tiny detent, okay, little drill mark on the side of the blade. So when you're closing it, what happens is it's rubbing along your blade. I'm trying to point in there, but of course everything's black so you can't see crap. But what happens is when you get to a certain point, they match up. The liner pushes over just a little bit. It kind of retains that blade. Keeps it from shaking out. When they're brand new, okay, this is literally brand new out of the box. If I shake it, you can see it's retaining pretty good, right? Now, if I turn it upside down and give it a good little flick, I can get it to open. All right, with use, let me open this up. With use, you definitely wear down on that, and I have it to the point where this plain edge one, it does not retain nearly as well as it did when it was brand new. You can easily shake it out. It doesn't take anywhere near as much pressure to actually get that out. All right, so quite easy, especially in the reverse, to just kind of do a little flick of the wrist to get that out and open. You may like that, you may not like that. I don't have that much of a preference. I don't have a problem with my knives opening up my pocket. Never did, probably never will. But that is something I want to mention. The detent totally wore. It's almost non-existent. All right, so they will shake out easily. That might be a pro for you. Maybe it's something you like. Who knows? Definitely something worth mentioning. As far as construction, torque screws. Actually, get my loop again. See, torques for the pivot, torques for the body. Something I noticed that I actually like is that the logo is only on the handle. Okay, Maxpedition. It's cool, it's subtle, but the blades are completely sterile. There's nothing on the blades. No marking of blade steel. There's no serial number as to a model. There's no Maxpedition on there. There's just nothing. I kind of like that. It's something different. Usually there's all kinds of crap on the blade. You know, it doesn't really have anything to do with performance, just something that I was observing. Like I said, they are liner locks. Very thin liner on these. Bronze phosphorus bushings. I can say when you first get them, they're not sticky at all, but they're a little bit slow. They weren't even really gritty. They were smooth. It's just they were slow. I never touched my pivot, but I did hit it with just a dab after I started using it a little bit. Just a dab of some Tough Glide in there with the needle applicator, and really smoothed out. So you have nice washers going on, but you know, it needs a little bit of just a touch. Yeah, the liners are very thin. The lockup when you first get these are great. Here's another example of a brand new one. All right, you don't have to flick them out hard, okay? Of course, the harder you do flick these out, it's almost like the more solid they lock up because this thin liner wants to push over even more, but it also causes wear, all right? So if you're someone who's just flicking these things out really hard all the time, you will wear down your liner fairly quickly. It's a softer steel, it's very thin. As you can see, some people don't trust thin liner locks. I don't have a particular problem with them. It's not maybe a preference, but again, we're talking about a $25 knife here. As far as cheap knives, I would maybe prefer lockback, but that's personal preference. The locks work great. The problem I have with this is just by design. You can see that the liner sticks out a little bit. Okay, now so this is easy to disengage. It's very comfortable, very simple. All right, there's even the cutout in the handle here. Okay, it's just thumb naturally slides over, grabs that lock very easily. Okay, there's jimping on it, obviously you can see. All right, and it's easy to disengage. Now, this is something you wouldn't know by looking at pictures or casually using your knife to open your letters. All right, when I first started using this to cut some cardboard and do some testing, I use a grip like this, okay, with the thumb in the back. All right, cutting through. After a while, you start getting some fatigue and your thumb starts hurting. By the way, the jimping on here, because everything's coated, it's just mediocre. You know, it's there. It serves some grip, but it's nothing special. I personally don't care. It means nothing to me. But some of you guys want to know that. So yeah, it's not aggressive at all. But here's the thing. Once you start using your knife and you find that your hand's getting tired, your thumb's hurting because you're pushing down, you find you're getting very fatigued and uncomfortable. So what naturally you want to do is tuck your thumb in, okay? And particularly when I'm going through the cardboard where the flaps are glued together on the priority boxes, you know, you cut through the side, it's one layer of cardboard. It's not really thin, it's not really thick, but it's whatever, you know, you're getting through it fine. But on the tops where they're glued together, now you have two layers with a layer of glue in between. That layer of glue is very resistant. You can see, I mean, there's still some left on the blade. I tried cleaning as much as I could for the review. But that glue and the second layer adds a lot of resistance. So when you're cutting through there, particularly after a while when your knife starts getting dull, it's very difficult. All right, so what I wanted to do is naturally grip my knife like this. And I'm making a fist. I'm making a pretty tight fist because I'm struggling through to slice, you know, and it's a lot of pressure. And guess what I found? I found that when I grip this knife like this, what I'm doing is, because this is extended, I'm putting pressure on my liner lock and I'm actually moving it over a little bit. I'm pushing down, but I'm also very slightly moving it over. It's not disengaging, okay? Like, here's a brand new one. Brand new, you open it up. All right, there's no blade play, there's nothing, okay? They actually lock up really nicely. Here's one that's been used a lot, okay? Regular, you know, grip like this, the blade play, very slight, starting to create a little bit because I'm wearing down the liner. You can hear just a little bit, right? But when you crank down on this and you grip this hard, I'm pushing the liner over just enough, all right, so that it's not in that original position. It's going from, let me see if I can, yeah, you can try it like this. Get it close so you can see this. It's going from this position here to that position there. See, the lock is still engaged, but from here to here, moving just like a fraction of an inch, you know, a half a millimeter, or maybe a full millimeter, it's enough to create a lot more blade play, and it makes me feel very uneasy because I'm skating, you know, on thin ice here. My already thin liner lock is now almost disengaged. Now when I'm cutting really hard, I'm putting pressure, you know, this way, so I'm not worried about it, you know, closing up on me and cutting me. That's not really a concern here. But I don't like that I can feel the play in it, all right? So naturally I'm pushing back, and the handle is moving in my hand, but then once it gets to that back point where it can't move anymore because it's pushing against my pinky and I'm holding it really hard, I feel the blade wiggle a little bit. It's an uneasy feeling. Doesn't mean it's going to disengage, I just don't like it. So here it is, when I'm gripping this really hard, you can hear the blade play a lot more. Gus isn't snoring in the background. And that's what's happening, is this is actually moving over a little bit with my grip because it's extended. All right, so me just pinching like this, it's wiggling that already thin lock. Just an uneasy feeling. I haven't had any failures with it yet. You know, it works fine. Again, we're talking about a $25 knife. There's some great $25 knives out there, but this is the only one of its specific design. I got these knives because I want to put these in all my Maxpedition bags, because I have a bunch of different bags. In fact, I'm going to be reviewing some more stuff pretty soon. There's another bag that I'm very interested in. And besides my Maxpedition stuff, I have other things. I want to, you know, keep an extra blade in the car. This is like, you know, you have your EDC blade on you, and you know you have to cut into some gunky, nasty crap, you know, and you may have a nice knife on you. You don't necessarily want to cut into glue and tape and sap it, or whatever the situation may be. So I like having knives like this around everywhere, all over the place, all in every room of my house, in my car, everywhere I go, on my person. I like knives like this. They're beater knives. I'm not purposely trying to hurt them, but I feel a little bit better if something happens to them, that it's not a $100 knife, $150 knife, and so on. So, what else can I say about this? 4 ounces. It really feels light, to be honest. FRN handles. There's a pattern on here you can see, but it's really, there's almost no texture. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's not aggressive whatsoever. All right, so I would definitely say it's on the smooth side. You can see the liners in there. They're not milled or anything. But it really, 4 ounces may seem heavy if you, you know, depending on all the knives you have, but it carries well. It doesn't feel like 4 ounces. To be honest, if I didn't know it was 4 ounces and someone said, hey, what's this weigh? I did one of these kind of thingamajigs, I'd say probably maybe 2.5 ounces, 3 ounces tops. It really carries well as far as weight. Pocket clip is only a tip down, right side carry. I know a lot of you guys won't like that. As far as the design, it's fine. Tension's great on it, not too tight, not too loose. I feel comfortable with it in the pocket. You know, as far as the screws go, just straight into the FRN. I'm not sure long term, like say a year or more, if those are going to loosen up. But you know, so far so good. It's been fine. It does carry very well. You have about that much sticking out. All right, it is easy to access, and I've talked to this before. It doesn't matter if I have a tip up or tip down knife, it just depends on how I'm gonna grab it. That's all it is. Okay, in this position here where it's tipped down, I basically pinch, pointer finger and thumb, pull the knife out, all right, and it's in my hand, it's ready to open. Use the thumb studs. I really don't use the flipper on this. All right, I usually just grab the studs. It's open, I'm using it, right? In the event that, you know, it was swappable, or let's say from the factory, it did come in this position here, instead of pulling out like this, which I still can, and just simply flip it around, it's not a big deal. But I would simply just grab it differently, that's all. You know, if it was positioned like this, tip up, I may just do an overhand grab and then pull it out like that, as opposed to just straight up. So, you know, positioning and stuff, it's personal preference, not a big deal. It doesn't take away from the functionality of the knife and the usability. However, if your personal preferences don't match what a knife offers, that's why you don't get it. If it does, you do. You know, overall, I think it's a good knife. By the way, you can see, obviously, it's a full flow-through design. All right, so it won't capture lint as much, and easy to clean. Just some standoffs here. There is a lanyard hole. You know, I'm not really into lanyards lately. I don't know why. I'm just not into them. I'm not like, oh, I need my hole in my knife. It's pretty standard these days. You'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of knives that don't have it anymore, you know? Some things I'd like to see about this knife possibly change to make it better. I think, not for me personally, but just because I get feedback from you guys all the time, I would like to see the capability of swapping the clip, just some you know, tapped and threaded holes here, so that you could swap it for a tip-up carry, just because I know that's a lot of people's preference. Besides that, there's really not a whole lot I would change. I mean, it's $25. If I start making changes here, yeah, do this, do that, it's gonna raise the price, and it changes the whole ball game. But as it is, I like it. Just a standard V grind on here. I noticed that the grinds are a little bit uneven. Not a huge deal. They're off just a tiny bit. Again, talking about a $25 knife. All right. If you do have the capability to do so, you get one of these things brand new for 25 bucks or $24, and you know, you sharpen it right out of the box. Don't even use it. Just touch it up. Get a nice razor edge on there, and you should be good to go for a while. So I'm liking them. It's not the best option out there for $25. There are some other knives, but you know, different designs, they offer different things. I think this is still a great knife to have as a backup knife. As far as EDC blades, it's definitely in the realm for a lot of you guys. If you know, you can't afford some of the more expensive stuff, this is a good option. It's definitely worth checking out. I know a lot of people end up getting these because they wanted to try the colors. You know, there's a lot of black knives in the market, but you know, OD green and khaki handle knives, it's hard to find, really. I like that a lot of different companies are starting to do some colors and stuff. Spyderco's worked a lot with different colors. Unfortunately, they always do sprint runs, you know. I'd like to see just some more color in general, you know, across the board. All different companies. So I like that Maxpedition is starting off there. I mean, this is their first knife. I'm sure it's not going to be their last. They'll have plenty more in the future. Maybe more expensive. Maybe some knives that are more capable. Maybe even cheaper. Who knows? But it's one of those things where if you happen to be ordering a bag or something, you know, it's a good extra knife to just throw in a bag. That's what it comes down to. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I thank you very much for watching, as always. And I will see you soon. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Take care.